Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rodeo Joe Show. This is episode 12. We're going to be going into week 5 of the NFL. I apologize in advance. I think I might be coming up on a cold or something. Hopefully I can knock this crap out by the end of the weekend. But so if I don't sound too up to par, I apologize in advance for that. But yeah, I'll be covering last night's game, going over a couple injuries and issues that are going to take place this week. And then I will preview the Sunday slate of games that we've got. Again, to those who are new to it, I'll cover the Monday night game on Monday, right before kickoff. But with that being said, let's just get right into last night's game between the Rams and the Seahawks. Really good game. I mean, as much anybody would have thought. Seahawks ended up pulling it out in the end, 30-29. That puts them 4-1 in the division. The Rams dropped down to 3-2. This game was just a well balanced performance, like I said, that needed to be done by Seattle if they wanted to win this game. They're tough at home, and they came out and had that balanced attack. Russell Wilson was 17 for 23, 268 with 4 touchdowns. Carson had 27 attempts and 118 yards rushing, which, is a good value, to have, to be able to. It's not exactly lighting up the stat sheet as far as yards per carry go, but it's good balance attack, and keeps you guessing. Goff didn't play too particularly bad, 29 for 49, 395, a touchdown and a pick. And that pick, if you guys didn't see it, it was something else by a man by the name of Tedrick Thompson, I believe is his name. Kind of falls on his back, bounces it around a little bit, and still manages to maintain possession of it and catches it. I mean, it was a heck of a throw, or sorry, it was a heck of a throw to him, I suppose, but it was a low throw that he kind of just played real well and kind of tipped it up to himself and rolled around and actually ended up making the interception. But good play, good win for Seattle. If as far as you go with the Rams, this is 2 games in a row they've dropped now. I don't know what they just need, I think, a more balanced attack. I think when they started finding success at times in this game is when they ran the ball, and they used Gurley, for a good portion of the beginning of the game, then pretty much just stopped running whatsoever in the second half. It's just, it's not. I mean, you look at, both these teams. You got Seattle that's being successful. 4-1. That's their formula for winning. It's just coming in and having a balanced attack. You don't see. I mean, you look. Russell Wilson had 23 pass attempts. Well, Jared Goff had 29 completions, 49 pass attempts. He actually has 117 pass attempts, 912 yards passing. I think he's thrown for 3 or 4 touchdowns in that span as well. 0-2. Because they can't get the run together. They can't get the run game going. There's no consistency there. And I think if they have that, I think they'd be all right. But I think that's what's really hurting them in these games, because I don't think there was any reason whatsoever for them to just abandon the run last night. But another good takeaway from that game was, if you didn't see that pass that Russell Wilson threw to Tyler Lockett, I would suggest looking it up, because it's incredible. It's one of those toe-tapping plays. They go with this crazy analytical thing where they say, there's this much of a percentage of catching it here and this, that, and the other, and this kind of throw with this much pressure, negates this, that. And I think I seen something somewhere where they said it had a 6% chance of actually being completed. That's how difficult the throw was. And it was a great throw, great catch. They also said something too. There was another statistic that said that no receiver has ever been close or covered closer than he was in that game or in any game this season, and he still managed to make the catch or some bogus crap like that. These guys that have way more time on their hands than they probably should to look up this stuff, they figure up crunch these numbers up. But despite all that, use your eyes, watch it for yourself. You don't need any crazy analytics to tell you that was a good catch and a good throw by Wilson. Just see it with your own eyes. But that's all I have to say about that game. Like I said, good performance. Seattle really came to play. And, just impressive with what Wilson's been able to do and pile up these last few weeks. He's playing some of the best ball for any quarterback right now, you could say. Moving on up into the Sunday games. First things first, I will talk about some of the issues we have with some injuries, star players playing, not playing, inactives, that kind of deal. First thing we'll go, since it's AFC North heavy channel. Something that was brought to my attention is apparently Juju Smith-Shuster has a lingering toe injury, and apparently he tweaked it again on Monday night against Cincinnati. He's questionable in this game. He was limited in practice. They said the bare minimum that he could do. So that's something to look out for, if you've got him in fantasy or anything like that, or just if you're a fan of the team. Just look out for him and see if it's not a lingering problem for him. But and then I seen also too that James Conner is good to go. So he will start despite missing a little bit of time because I believe it was him and Cameron Hayward both went out in that game against Cincinnati, and they still managed to come back and finish the game. So no big concern there. Secondly, Jarvis Landry, for those who didn't see on that big reverse that he had against Baltimore last week, he ended up kind of landing head first into the ground, and he got a concussion. He's out of concussion protocol. He's back to practice. So they play on Monday night against the 49ers. So look for them to have a good chance to finally be able to start all their wide receivers that they've had this season, because they've had a couple with injuries missing, and they had, I believe it was Callaway had to miss 4 games for the substance abuse policy. So everybody should be active as far as the wide receivers go. It'd be kind of nice to see what Njoku would do in that lineup, but this is all they can get for now. So good news for Browns fans. That'll be exciting to see, because they need every bit of that against San Francisco on Monday night. Outside of the North, we have it's been announced the Redskins plan on starting Colt McCoy, which is what they should have done anyway. I haven't looked real in depth into it and why he didn't get the start over Haskins, and Gruden's coming out and saying that he supports his decision and says that he made the right decision and putting him in. And it's like I said, his days are numbered there in Washington, and for him to feel he needs to justify himself means he kind of feels like he's on the hot seat. I mean, he's stupid if he doesn't think he is, but just Colt McCoy will start. It's not going to be a very good game for him either, so thank goodness they're not putting Haskins in, because this game could really, really break Haskins, because they've got a tough game. They got to play New England, so that's not going to be pretty for anybody in a Washington uniform, just regardless of who's playing quarterback. Saquon Barkley will not get the start against the Vikings. He's still kind of working out the tweaks of that injury that he has. So don't look for him to play against Minnesota. And man, I'm just really looking forward to seeing him return and seeing how Daniel Jones and him kind of coexist together. They had it briefly, but be interesting to see a healthy Saquon and Daniel Jones and see what that Giants team will look like with that dynamic. And then lastly, I have a couple more things to talk about here. We got Jalen Ramsey. I guess this came out and has been talking about this 3-year lingering back injury that he has, because now that's the big thing with him is he's not practicing because he has a back injury, but he's never mentioned it before, but now he is. It doesn't take anything away from the seriousness of it. It's just kind of odd how that all happens, So he's ruled out. He is not practiced, and he will not play against Carolina. I hope his back is, the issue here, and it's not just him kind of just trying to stay fresh for, a potential trade suitor. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, hopefully, like I said, it's not that. But and lastly, we have reported that Sam Darnold is not going to play in this game. He's taken the majority of the first team snaps, which is, it's unfortunate for the Jets because they really could use any break they could get right now at this point. But I guess because of the effects of the mono that he's been battling, he has an enlarged spleen, so he is not going to play. He actually came out and said that, he said that he really wants to play, but he's like, he doesn't want to die either, because it's going to be something that could kill him. But, it's very possible, but, so they're just taking every precaution they can and making sure he's okay, and they're not going to throw him in there until he's ready to go. But, that kind of wraps up that as far as players and stuff go. I'm going to be getting into the Sunday slate of games here for you guys. This is redemption for me. This is, so far, it's starting off good. I called a game last night, so I'm 1-0 right now for this, this opening little quarter that I got going on. Not a good start to open up the season, but finish it off strong here at the end, hopefully. So here's the first step towards that. They're really not doing me any favors. We got the 3-1 Bills at the 2-2 Titans. Titans are a 3-point favorite in this game, and this is this is not a very easy game to call. A lot of people look at Tennessee and kind of the way they've really bounced back last week and played, some solid ball that most predicted them to do this year. And on the same hand, you had the Bills going in and doing what they did defensively to New England. It was unfortunate losing Josh Allen, but he's questionable to play in this game. In this game, I like Buffalo, and only because I can't trust Tennessee. My eyes have told me all year that Buffalo has a good defense, and rightfully so they do. So does Tennessee, though. If you look at it across the board, the Titans have the 4th best scoring defense. The Bills have the 5th. I think they both average, once, which would be, Buffalo, 15.8, and Tennessee is like 15.3 as far as points a game. So both defenses playing incredibly well. Tennessee's got the better rushing attack, if you look at it. And they, offensively, they are the only team right now that has only 1 turnover, which is the best in the league. And the Bills have 10 turnovers in the league, which is worst in the league. I believe it's tied for worst in the league. But, if Josh Allen can play in this game, I think it's a no-brainer, at least in my opinion, for what they were able to do with Tom Brady and making just him look so pedestrian out there. 150 yards. 1 interception. Granted, it was in the red zone, but it was a terrible throw. It just looked like he misread that coverage, and they just made him pay for it. Losing by 6 to Tom Brady, full strength Tom Brady, without your starting quarterback, which he was to fault for the reason why they got a lot of their points, good. But to hold Tom Brady without a touchdown is just something incredible. So I look for the Bills to bounce back and actually get this win. I even think they could do it with Barkley, to be honest, just because, like I said, I'm not impressed with Tennessee. I can't jump on the Tennessee wagon until I see some consistency out of it. This is a team that won their first game, lost 2, then wins 1. Now you want me to just jump on them all of a sudden just because they beat a struggling Atlanta team? I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. So, good. Let's see what Tennessee can do and see if they can change my mind. But so far, it's not happening. Next, we have the 3-1 Bears at the 2-2 Raiders. Bears are 5.5-point favorites in this game. This game is going to be played in London. It's Khalil Mack's first game against the Raiders, and Trubisky. They thought about maybe if he would be able to play, his certainty to play, and it was established pretty early in the week that he probably wasn't going to get the start. So look for Chase Daniel to start this game. I like Chicago in this game, just based on the brand of football that they play. They play a very smothering, turnover-based or heavy defense. They get a lot of turnovers. Oakland, you don't know what you're going to get out of that team either. They're in the same boat as Tennessee, and I just think that the pressure that the Bears will bring, on top of being very opportunistic, is just a recipe for beating Oakland. I think it'll be a good game, but I still do like Chicago winning this one. Maybe around that margin too, maybe by a touchdown or so. And then next, got a good old-fashioned NFC South matchup at the 2-2 Bucks at the 3-1 Saints. Now this game looked like it was kind of going to be a snoozer a couple weeks ago if you would have asked me about it. Not so much now. The Saints are 3-point favorites in this game. It's really a lot tougher game to call than I thought. Going into this, a couple weeks with this whole Teddy Bridgewater experience, I thought, man, this is one of those games that he can pick up. And with picking up the first 2 and then this being 3 out of 6 for him, this is probably one of the harder games to pick now. Tampa's coming out and playing pretty good, and what Bruce Arians wanted to do, all the talk that he was saying all the offseason, how he wanted to be explosive and have big explosive plays, and he thought that Winston would be a good quarterback to be able to do that, and he thought he would be able to utilize that well with him and his style of play. He was right. Right now, Winston is 5th in the league in yards and 4th in touchdowns. So, it's still early in the season. We're only a quarter of the way through it, but I would have never thought in a million years that Jameis Winston would be top 5 in both of those categories as far as quarterbacks go. Then we look at the fact that Tampa Bay scored 55 against the Rams, and the Rams are the last team to beat the only team to beat the Saints so far this year. So, how do you look at it? The way I look at it is I'm picking the Saints in this game. I just like what they do defensively. I do think down the road they will have to open up this playbook a little bit more for Bridgewater. But so far with what they're doing, Bruce Arians came out and actually said that, he's like, we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to just focus and rely on their defense to get them and putting them in good positions in their special teams play, which our special teams play has played phenomenal. As far as the return game, field goal unit, they won their game last week based solely off of their field goal unit. So, but they're definitely helping out Bridgewater a lot. But yeah, when he starts getting more game film, on him, they're going to have to open it up a little bit more for him. But so far, the formula's working for him, and I really do like them in this game. I think they'll slow down Tampa Bay a lot. I think that they'll get that pass rush going, and I really like them in the matchup, especially given how Lattimore played last week against Cooper. I see that he can be a shutdown corner if he wants to be whenever his head's right and in the game. So I do like the Saints in this matchup. I think it'll be a good game, though. It'll be a very, very good game. But look for New Orleans to open it up a little bit offensively. I really think this is the time when they need to do it. But I like them in this game in a close one. Next, we have the 2-2 Vikings at the 2-2 Giants. Vikings are 5-point favorites in this game. And, man, this is a little bit tougher than you think to pick, too, as well. I do like the Vikings in this game based on the fact that their defense plays really well. They can run the ball really well. They didn't particularly do that last week, but it was, a couple different things were factored into that game. One being a divisional game, two being on the road, and, three, Kirk Cousins. I mean, he hurts that team so much. It's just you wonder what they could be if they had somewhat of a decent quarterback out there. And it's unfortunate because I hate to say that. Cousins is a Michigan State product, Big Ten guy. You want to see him succeed, do well. But I just don't think he's the answer. I mean, he's a backup at best. I mean, I think that's where he really thrived. Now that he's the guy, for some reason his efficiency isn't up there. He leads the league in 6 fumbles this season for quarterbacks. I mean, that's terrible. And speaking of fumbles, the Giants they've yet to force or recover one. So maybe he might give them a gift this weekend. But I don't know. We'll just kind of see how it plays out. I really like what Daniel Jones has done this season, but I think he's really getting a true test this weekend with the Vikings. I think they step it up. I think the running game really comes alive. Defense kind of shuts them down, brings them to earth a little bit here. And I look for the Vikings to win by at least a touchdown. But moving on from that, just go right into the next game, which is a series of big lopsided odds in as far as Vegas goes. For those of you that are interested into that, got the 0-3 Jets taking on the 2-2 Eagles. Eagles are 14-point favorites in this game. I like the Eagles in this game just because of the Jets are a little banged up defensively, and that's their strength really with this whole team. Like I said earlier, Luke Falk's going to get the start again. Sam Darnold's going to be out. He's still battling that spleen issue that he has. The Eagles got to get off to a fast start, though. This is one of those games where, you're heavily favored. I think everybody's just still riding their coattails after what they were able to do against Green Bay last Thursday. But, now it's time to, show people that, this is where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be a good team. No more of this crap. They're being, they're slow starting team. I think they're the worst in the league. It's like 27-10. They're being outscored in the first quarter. With that offense, and what it's supposed to be, and everybody so high on Carson Wentz, and thinking he's the next great thing. He has been playing really, really well in crunch time, and once the game starts kind of rolling, but he needs to really play some consistent ball, and like I said, they need to get off the get the game started and just come out swinging like right from the get go. And the Jets are banged up. They're not the most talented squad out there, but they're still an NFL team. So, come out and perform the way you're supposed to perform. And they should be able to handle this game pretty well. So there's not really much to say about that one. The same can kind of be said about this next game. Another East versus East interconference matchup here with the Patriots at 4-0 taking on the 0-4 Redskins. Patriots are 16-point favorites in this game. I'm sorry, you're going to get a little bit of a rant here. I really like seeing what New England's able to do defensively. I think this is one of the best defensive teams they've had in many, many, many years. I would take this unit and go toe-to-toe with them against, like the 0-1 team that they had, but I'm tired of seeing them playing these teams that they're like so heavily favored. It's just unfortunate. I know the schedule will really pick up for them, but it's so boring to see them. And I don't want to call myself a Patriots hater, but like anybody else, you just want to see somebody else be successful and somebody else do it and maybe kind of rival them a little bit here. So, yeah, I guess I'm just being a little fussy, being a fan, because I'm tired of, looking down on the ticker and it's like, look at that. New England's winning. Oh, look at that. New England's winning again. Oh, New England's playing a good, halfway decent team here. Oh, they're winning. So what's going on? And then you look into it and you see, well, okay, their starting quarterback just got hurt and he's been out. Now they've got a backup that hasn't played a snap since '73 getting in there, and it's like, well, no wonder they're winning some of these games. And I hate saying that because it makes it sound like I'm taking away from all the great that they do, and you couldn't have that. No way would we ever want to discount New England and everything that they do. Nah, you wouldn't want to do that at all because they're just so deserving because, they've gotten all their championships, the right way. They've never been in any scandals with any of that. But, okay, I digress on that. Anyway, going into the game, the game at hand. Sorry, but, yeah, New England's first in the NFL in defense, second against the pass, second against the rush. They're the only team this season that's only allowed one touchdown. Tip your hats off to them. I'm not taking anything away from their defense. Their defense has played great so far this season. But Brady needs to play better than what he did last week. And I think he will. I think this will be a game where he's just going to go nuts because this is the team that, the Redskins are in trouble with all the stuff that they're dealing with, as far as with the offensive line, the quarterback, and all that. It's not the matchup they want right now because I know Tom Brady is listening to all this stuff in the media about is he done? Anytime he ever doesn't go, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, without a pick, people immediately think he's about ready to hang up his cleats and he's done, he's washed up. But he'll bounce back, he'll play good, and he'll get the job done. And rather convincing form. I look for at least 3 touchdown victory here against the Redskins because they're just trash. And New England, like they need any more motivation, will be motivated to come up and play this game, and I see a big victory for them. But moving on from that game, let's go right into the 2-2 Jags at the 2-2 Panthers. It's a good old game with those lovely teams in, 95, the expansion teams, the Jags and the Panthers coming into the NFL at the same time. This is going to be a close game. It's really tough. There's a lot of good games this weekend. A lot of these 2-2 matchups that just really kind of you bounce back and forth with who you like and who you don't like in these games. So Panthers are 3.5-point favorites to win. I look at this game and I kind of favor. I like Gardner Minshew. I'm all big on that Minshew mania. I think he's incredible. He's definitely lived up to his hype. I mean, anybody that hasn't got the chance to see him play yet, you're missing out because he really does bring a lot, and he's a very exciting player to watch, and just has a good character, and he's overall, like I said, an exciting, entertaining player to watch on and off the field. But I like him over Kyle Allen. Although Kyle Allen is playing very, very well, coming in and stepping up the absence of Cam Newton. But and then as far as Carolina, I like McCaffrey over Fournette. I think Fournette just had one of those games last week. I don't look for him to kind of make that a regular thing. I like McCaffrey. He's consistent, and he's very, very actively involved in this offense. Whether it be pass or in the receiving game, running. It seems like he's everywhere. Wherever the ball is, he's there. He's somewhere near it. He's making a play somewhere, and he's incredibly exciting to watch too. I like the Jaguars in this game though. When it comes down to it, when you got to pick who you like, you tend to side with the quarterback, and I like Minshew a little bit better than I like Kyle Allen. I actually seen that Minshew is the highest-rated quarterback in the red zone. He's actually, this season, 8 of 11, 57 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no picks. So, like I said, Minshew mania is real, fellas. You need to jump on board and check this dude out because he's pretty solid. And as I say that, the Panthers will probably win by 30, but I don't see that happening. But yeah, it'll be a good game regardless. And then moving on, we got the 1-3 Falcons at the 2-2 Texans. Texans are 4-point favorites in this game. This is a tough one to call too, because what direction is Houston going in right now? We look at a team that kind of had an unfortunate ending to their first game. Playing the Saints, that thing went back and forth with Houston taking the lead late in the game, and then just a miraculous drive and a long kick by the Saints to win that game. And then Houston wins 2 in a row, and then they just dropped their last one despite 3 fumbles by Carolina's quarterback that they couldn't capitalize on. And it just seemed really odd. And I came out, and I think Bill O'Brien said he just came out and just, I have no idea what happened. I have to look at the tape. I have to see what's going on with this because I really don't know. So it'll be interesting. Because I like Houston in this game. I think they will bounce back because I don't know what's going on with Atlanta. They just seem to be in kind of funk right now. No consistency. Matt Ryan looks shaky. He doesn't look like the Matt Ryan we know him to be, cool, calm, and collective and comfortable. He didn't have very many interceptions last season. I know he's already had more than that this season so far, 4 games in. So something going on there. Look for him to hopefully play a little bit better, moving on. But it's actually the first time that Deshaun Watson will be playing against Ryan in his career. And something that most people don't know is that Deshaun Watson grew up just a few miles outside of Atlanta in Georgia. And he actually played college ball in Gainesville, high school ball in Gainesville. And I did a lot of things within the facility between, washing players' laundry and, just being inside the stadium and doing a lot of things with the players. And, he was throwing, passes to, their wide receivers and stuff when he was a young kid. And he even was tossing the ball around with Matt Ryan as a young kid. And he's really excited, looking forward to the opportunity. Actually, both players are, Matt Ryan has been kind of, for the best part, trying to follow him as much as he can in his career. And, when he was down there in Clemson, all the success he had there and stuff, and just being a local kid, and is just really proud of him and stuff. So that's kind of a cool, dynamic within this game for those that, didn't know that, going in and watching it and kind of just, like I said, just something different to look at when you're just watching a football game, more than the X's and O's. As far as the X's and O's go, though, or the O's, I should say, both of these offensive lines are pretty terrible. But the Texans especially, they have allowed 18 sacks, which is 3rd worst in the league. So, if Atlanta can get the pass rush going and Matt Ryan can show some consistency, he's known to have some big games, and that's the thing. He's just so streaky, and he can be the best on Sunday, and he can be, terrible, absolutely terrible on Sunday too. It's just, and that's kind of, an unconventional side to Matt Ryan. We just don't look at him like that. We never look at him like he's a guy that can come out and just, well, I don't know. You can take it however you want, but here recently, I don't think since that Super Bowl, he's not the guy that I look at and say like, man, he's going to be a tough matchup this week. Yeah, but he doesn't ever look like a guy like, it's like, yeah, I think we can beat Matt Ryan. But he doesn't, you know what I mean, if that makes any sense. I mean, he just doesn't, he's just not wowing me with anything, but he never at the same hand was like, what many people thought prior to Baker Mayfield going in and playing Cleveland, they got, this guy at quarterback. They got Tim Couch at quarterback. Or they got Seneca Wallace. This ought to be easy. This ought to be a field day. He never was kind of in that. He's not in that tier of bad quarterbacks But he's starting to fish that way now. I don't understand it. He's kind of there at times. So, like I said, just hope that he can get back rolling, get a little bit more consistent, and play a little bit better. It should make for an exciting game. And like I mentioned earlier, that dynamic with him and Watson on a personal level should make for a pretty interesting game, I'm sure. But moving on from that one, let's go right into the good old AFC West matchup. Got the Broncos at 0-4 taking on the 2-2 Chargers. Chargers are 6-point favorites in this game. Man, there's really nothing much to say about this. Melvin Gordon is supposed to be coming back and playing in this game. Maybe not to start because Eckler's just been playing so well. I actually think he's in the top 5 in scrimmage yards this season. And then you look at Keenan Allen. I think he's leading the league in receiving yards. I think like 453 yards receiving. So they got an impressive offense. So that's the thing. And I touched on it earlier in a couple episodes ago that Melvin Gordon was actually happy to see how well the offense was playing in his absence because he's like, it would have been somewhat nice if they needed me, but it's good that they don't. But it just makes things even better that when I do get in, this offense will be, in good shape. So, with that being said, if they can get Eckler and Gordon going, they're going to be a tough team to defend against the run. And the Broncos are third worst against the run. Yeah, this is just unfortunate. It's just not a good matchup for them. I don't like it. I think the Chargers are kind of starting to pick up a little bit of rhythm here, and I look for them to win by at least a touchdown against the Broncos. If it was, at Denver, I might have a little change of heart there, but I don't like that team outside of Denver. I really don't. They play really, really well at home. They'll take on anybody at home and give them a game, but I don't like them on the road at all this season. But moving on from that game, or if I didn't say it already, I'm obviously picking the Chargers in that game. I'm sorry. But moving on from that, we got the 3-1 Packers at the 3-1 Cowboys. This should be a pretty good game. It's probably going to be, as far as on paper, the best game or the game of the week to watch. Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites in this game. The Packers will be without Devontae Adams. Cowboys will be without their starting left tackle, Tyron Smith, Cameron Flemings to get the start. This should be a really good test. I mean, Dallas just came out flat across the board offensively last week. Green Bay did not. Green Bay came to play. I believe they had over 500 yards of offense, but just not enough. Stalled on a goal line play with a pass intercepted in the loss to the Eagles last week. So will they be that explosive against Dallas? I don't think so. I think this is going to come down to the defense on both sides. I think both teams offer a good defense, and I like the Cowboys in this game just because I've stated it before. I think they're the best team in the NFC. I think they'll bounce back. I think they'll have a good balanced attack with the two. I think losing Devontae Adams is really, really going to hurt Green Bay because they lost him in that last drive, and they really, really could have used him when they were mounting that comeback on Philly. But everybody's just looking at this game like, this is a good game for Green Bay, and it really is. Either one of these teams that wins this game, it's really going to push them ahead and push them in a good standing as far as the whole conference is concerned. Because, like I said, I think Dallas just had a couple, bad miscues, and they had an opportunity there in the end. But, I just think it speaks to how talented the Saints are at home and how good that defense is. Because a lot of people aren't giving that defense the credit that it deserves. But yeah, I really do like Dallas. Like I said, look for them to bounce back. Moving on, we got the Sunday night game between the 2-2 Colts at the 4-0 Chiefs. The Chiefs are 11-point favorites in this game. in surprising fashion. I mean, I think the Colts has probably been the most overlooked team in the league this season so far, maybe outside of out of Seattle. But I didn't know that Jacoby Brissett and Mahomes each are tied with 10 touchdowns. I kind of thought that, Brissett was, playing decent, but I didn't think he was, on that same level with Mahomes. Now, granted, Mahomes didn't have a touchdown pass last week, so that kind of affects the numbers a little bit. In this particular case here, I said that they both have the same amount of touchdowns. However, Brissett has 911 yards passing with 2 interceptions, and Mahomes has 1,500 yards and no interceptions. So there you go, 600 more yards passing and no INTs for old Mahomes. So I mean, this should be on paper look to be a good game. I really just outside of what I've seen, from what I've seen the Chiefs do, it really kind of underperformed to their expectations and what people expect them to do last week. And I look for them to bounce back because they know that they didn't play well. I mean, those turnovers that Mahomes had in the red zone is inexcusable. You can't have that. You can't have them fumbles like that. Those points you're taking off the board, the extra possessions and possible points that you're giving the other team. You can't have that. And he knows that, and he's not accustomed to doing it all the time. It's just a bad game on the road. And that's the scary thing, guys, is that he played a really bad game on the road and still ended up winning. It just shows you how talented that team is offensively. Defensively, no, not so much. I was kind of early on really concerned with how their defense would be because, they've got playmakers and this, that, and the other across the board on their defense. But, yeah, they're not even the same caliber in the same conversation as far as their offense is, as far as how well they perform and how elite they are. I mean, they're definitely an offensive-heavy team. I mean, give that to, having Andy Reid as your head coach. But, what they do it well. So, hats off to them, and I look for them to win. I would say I think it'd be a little bit closer than 11, but, I'd say it's at least a touchdown game, honestly. But moving on from that concludes the Sunday games outside of the AFC North. We have a couple games to cover here in the AFC North. Like I said before, the third game is with the Browns and the 49ers, and that's a Monday night game, which looks to be a really, really good game, especially with how well Cleveland's been playing. But I will get into that more further in depth come Monday. So the first game I'll cover is the 0-3-1 Cardinals taking on the 0-4 Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point favorites in this game. This is a tough game to call for sure because you really haven't seen anything good on either side. And honestly, where both teams, if you look at it, and you read them, they basically do the same things wrong. And obviously they haven't won a game yet, so they haven't done a whole lot right. But it's really crazy. For example, the Cardinals they have 20 sacks allowed this season, which is the first most. Number 2, Cincinnati at 19. So offensive line problems are more of an issue with Cincinnati than they are with the Cardinals. I think a lot of the Cardinals' problems is that Kyler Murray tries to run outside the pocket and hold on to the ball too long instead of just run out and just get rid of it. He tries to make that big play every play, and sometimes it ends up being bad for him. One thing I will say is that I did see that they are a team that has done very well at getting to the quarterback. I believe they're 5th in the league in sacks, so they can get to the opposing quarterback, and they're just as welcoming on their offensive line to have somebody sack their quarterback. Unfortunately for Cincinnati, they're not as effective. I believe they're like 25th in the league as far as sacks go. I think they only have 4 or 5 sacks on the season. And that's not going to get it done. This is a team that needs and rotates their defensive personnel, especially on the front seven, really well. It's just they just can't seem to get any pressure. And I don't know why. I don't know why, if it's because a lot of these teams that have had success, and I mean, it's kind of stupid to say because everybody's had success against them so far this season, but they've done it in running the ball and a lot of play action stuff, and a lot of broken tackles and missed tackles and stuff too, and playing athletically gifted quarterbacks that can make plays outside the pocket and make something out of nothing on broken plays and run upfield. That kind of eliminates a lot of these sacks too. But one thing I will point out, in a very serious matter in terms of this game, is that Cordy Glenn is out. And for those of you that don't know, he got taken out of the second preseason game with a concussion, and he hasn't passed the protocol yet to be able to play. So, that's been, over a month, about a month and a half now. So that kind of marks for a serious issue here that, he could have something like severely wrong with him right now, because, if he's not clear to practice, that's kind of scary. And you kind of just hope for the best for him, It's unfortunate because the offensive line could certainly use his help at tackle, which is their glaring weakness on the line. But the most important thing is that he's healthy and that he gets the situation figured out. And hopefully it's just something that just takes a little bit of time. I'm not even going to come out here and say that I have an extensive knowledge with concussions and what's a timetable for somebody that gets a concussion, like when can they be back? If they take longer than normal, is that a concern? It's just something that I've looked at and seen, and what is keeping this guy out so much? What's the problem? Is it, because I knew that's what got I knew that's the injury that he sustained in that preseason game. But I'm like, is there something else here? And you just keep reading reports and stuff, and that's just all they want to say. It's just no, he's just not cleared to come back to practice yet. And hopefully there is. They just don't want to get into it, and they just kind of just brush it aside and just But regardless, I'll say it again. I just hope that his overall health is intact, and if he doesn't get to ever play the sport again, that's unfortunate. But I'd rather him, leave the game healthy and be able to function as a regular human being than to try to force himself back into this game and give himself some serious complications down the road. But now, as far as that goes, keys to victory for this game for Cincinnati. I'm taking them in this game just because they're playing at home. I just think something's got to give. I look for them. If they want to win, they got to establish the running game. They just got to do that. They've got to do it because they like to run these short little intermediate throws, this West Coast offense. And, when you have a bad offensive line, that can be very effective to kind of counteract that, to where you don't have to rely on these drop back plays and stuff. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the offense, but given our personnel right now, it's kind of ideal for the situation. That's what they need. First and foremost, they need that. They need the offensive line to really step up. I don't know if they need some movement, rotation, something to spark it, because it's just, maybe put Billy Price into the starting lineup, move him around somewhere. I know he was excellent at Ohio State, but this is a whole nother level here in the NFL, but they've got to do something, because this is a game that Arizona very much could win. So get the running game going. get Kyler Murray into some bad situations, make him force some bad throws, get the pressure going. The defense, this is one of those games like a Buffalo game where if the defense can step up and hold them to some manageable situations, they might not have to ask the offense to do too much, but they can't expect the defense to just carry the load every single game. But if the defense is able to maintain and force some 3 and outs and get the offense to be able to touch the ball a lot more and not be forced into a deficit early on, which isn't completely on the defense's fault. Like I said, it's a lot of the issues with the offensive line. Then they've got a good chance in this game. But this is really one of those kind of games where you can kind of just call it either way because they're both not playing well and they're both doing the same things wrong. So, but being at home, I think the Bengals and those players are hungry and they're really going to give it all they got, especially after the embarrassing performance they put out on Monday night. So I look for them to come out on top. It's not going to be a very convincing win, I don't think. I think it'll be a close game. But look for that to happen, and hopefully they can bounce back because they're looking at top 5 pick status right now with the way both these teams are really for the way they've been playing so far this season. And that brings me on to the last game, and I kind of saved the best game for last, I would say. And, historically it always has been this way, but, maybe not so much this year, given the circumstances with the injuries and this, that, and the other. But it usually, regardless, we've seen this matchup have backup quarterbacks in it, backup running backs in it. This guy's hurt. This guy gets hurt in the game, in the middle of the game, what have you. This guy gets taken out in the game, comes back, rallies at the end of the game when you didn't think he was going to, shows overall toughness. This is the creme de la creme, the bee's knees, as the kids say these days, as far as good games in the AFC North. This is Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So, it doesn't get any better than this if you're a fan of the AFC North and of football in general, good old smash mouth football. It's not going to be your conventional game. It's not going to be, what we're used to seeing. It's the new era of this rivalry. And hopefully they can pass the torch down, and this new generation is good and carries on that tough, hard-nosed AFC North football that those in this area love. But, it's the 2-2 Ravens taking on the 1-3 Steelers. Ravens are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I stated this earlier, and I don't want to be a broken record, but what Pittsburgh was able to do was impressive on Monday night, but they still have a lot of work to do, and this is a good test for them, to see just where they rank right now. And honestly, I kind of was on the fence with this game here recently. Initially it was just, after Monday night's contest, it was just like, oh, okay, I know they're playing Baltimore, and Baltimore's going to win hands down. There's no question about it. But then as I started thinking about things a little bit more, I'm starting to lean a lot more towards Pittsburgh in this game, just because of how bad Baltimore has regressed. They've played. They haven't played nearly as good as what they did in the opening game. We're ready to crown them as AFC champions and after their first game with how well they played against Miami, but they're not playing the same kind of game. They've Lamar Jackson is actually, each game since that game has had less yardage, as far as throwing the ball. I am really just this is a game. Like I said, beginning of this week I was all Baltimore into this, but going back, I'm kind of rambling here. It's easy to do with games like this, but I really like Pittsburgh in this game, and I'll tell you why. This doesn't look like this looks like a good game for Baltimore to bounce back. They've got they seem to be the team that has more to play for. That's kind of silly to say, but they really do, because they just got absolutely embarrassed, at home to a Cleveland team that, everybody is now back on again. They might jump back off of it on Monday night, but then they'll be back on them, whatever. That's just the trend with Cleveland this season. But they will have a lot more to play for as far as that goes, a lot more motivation. But let's look at it this way. Okay, we want to look at what Pittsburgh did Monday night and what really stands out to you. Well, what really stands out to me is I look at a Pittsburgh team. They got, I believe, 8 sacks, 11 or 12 hits on Dalton. And then what did they do the following week before that? Forced, 5 turnovers against a darn good San Francisco team in San Francisco. The defense looks like they're ready to play. And, I think that as the weeks go on, they're just going to have to start asking Mason Rudolph to, do more and do more. But everybody wants to they look at this and they say, Pittsburgh's not been impressive whatsoever because, look at Rudolph. He only had, most of his plays, he had 16 completions to running backs last week. He's just little dink and dunk dump offs. Well, I recall a team in the AFC North that used to do pretty well with that, with a strong defense and a quarterback that liked to dink and dunk down the field but had the occasional deep shot. That man goes by the name of Joe Flacco, so he's no longer with Baltimore anymore. But, this kind of football can win games. You don't have to, Roethlisberger was, a huge part to Pittsburgh's success, but they can win with Rudolph. If he's young, he just needs to, like I said, be exposed to more of the playbook, open it up a little bit more. Most importantly, he needs to get his teammate James Washington more involved. He had 1 target last week against Cincinnati. No catches. It's that's one of those things. He just you look for it to happen soon, but it should. I mean, they really need to get that going, and the offense won't be as big of an issue because honestly, the defense last season led the league in sacks. Was not a very good opportunistic team. I think they only had 14 turnovers. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're sitting at like 9 takeaways now. So they're almost on pace to, break that, what they did last season halfway through the year, which is impressive. It's one thing to be able to force pressure and get hits, which is a category I believe they lead in the league this season with hits on the quarterback. So they can get to your quarterback and they can force some turnovers. I mean, that's the recipe for a darn good defense, despite how many yards they might give up and stuff. And I think they can lean on that. And, they really got to, work on a lot of things there in Pittsburgh. But, yeah, I like them in this game. I really do. And I would not have ever said that right immediately after that Monday night game. But, you start to think about things a little bit and the matchups and whatnot. I mean, the one thing is though, if Baltimore gets that running game going, because Pittsburgh, has shown at times that they don't defend the run very well, and obviously Baltimore is the number 1 team in the NFL in rushing, and Pittsburgh's in for some trouble. But it's going to be a tough fought game. I think if Pittsburgh wants a chance, they do need to balance it out a little bit more and get the running game going on their end, because we've seen what Nick Chubb was able to do against Baltimore's defense. But, yeah, just look for a tough matchup, and it's going to be a good game, and look forward to checking it out. But that wraps up this episode. Like I said, guys, thanks again for the support, and sorry that it's taken so long to post it tonight. Sorry I sound like I'm a nasally pile of crap over here trying to talk, but I'm just trying to fight through this little cold that I think I'm getting, and just still push out product to you guys, and hope that you enjoy it. Thanks again. Like I said, it's never too late. If you haven't liked or subscribed to this page, feel free to do so. Comment anything that you guys would like to see. And I look forward to talking to you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend.